In my initial videos of the Aqara U100 lock, I was definitely very critical and not impressed with this lock at all. Actually, the only thing that I liked about this was that it had Apple HomeKey at a very affordable price. Well, since then, like I thought, it was not a very good lock to begin with, and it definitely went downhill, which I'll talk about more about the specific issues that I have had. But Aqara has been listening not only to the things I've been saying, but what other people who bought this have been saying. And they've recently come out with a brand new lock, the U50. Now, this is not 100% better, but I gotta tell you, it definitely is 2 steps forward and 1 step back in the right direction. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. All right, first things first, I want to thank Aqara for sending this out to me so I can honestly check out for you guys, but this is not sponsored in any other way. So first thing you gotta take a look at is the U100 had this fingerprint reader on front. Unfortunately, that is the 1 step back that the U50 has done. Other than that, when you're comparing the physical designs, there's not much difference on the outside, but there are definitely some things on the inside and definitely some firmware updates or software updates. Let's go ahead and talk about. All right, first positive change is that you can now rekey this lock. It is a Schlage SC1 key and cylinder, but understand that this doesn't work with quick set cylinders or keys. So as long as you have that 5-pin SC1 key, you'll be able to rekey that. And that's what I have primarily in my house. Actually, all my locks are SC1, not primarily. So that is a huge benefit to me, even though I haven't used a key in probably about 5 years or so, but it's still good to know that I can have that key backup and it's the same key at all my doors. Now to rekey it, you can bring it to Home Depot, at Lowe's. They'll probably do it for about $5. Maybe, oh, it used to be $5. It's probably $10 or $15 these days per lock. Plus you have to find the right person on the right day that they're working. But if you want to do this yourself, it's really not that hard, especially you have a bunch of locks to do and it'd be a lot cheaper. I'll leave links down below to the kit that I use, and it just take a few minutes per lock, and it's really, really simple. And because this video is going to be pretty short, let me show you how. All right, first you want to make sure you have the necessary tools. You'll need a Phillips head screwdriver. You'll need a ReKey kit with pins probably 0 through 9. You'll need a follower, which should come with your ReKey kit. You're going to need the original key and the key that came with their Aqara lock, so you're going to need 2 keys, and that's pretty much it. You can also have this like little tool to help you remove the cap off of the back of the cylinder. It's not necessary. You can actually just use something pointed to get the cap off to push in the pin, but this little tool definitely makes it a lot easier. And you also might need a key gauge if your current key doesn't have the numbers directly written on the key. That way you can measure what pins you need to put in there directly right off the key. It's really easy to use, but if you have the code like I do, which by the way, the code that you see on this key is not my actual key. This is a test just for this demo. So first thing you want to do is remove the lock cylinder. On the back of the Aqara lock, there's a little like weather seal. You can just pry that weather seal up on the bottom. It's going to pop right off. And under there, you're going to see 3 little Phillips screws. Take those out and then take off that back cover. Inside, you'll now have access to the lock cylinder. There's 2 more screws and a little bracket that you'll have to remove that's holding in that cylinder. And once you do that, the whole cylinder can just pull right out. Now at this point, go ahead and put their Aqara key into the cylinder. It's just going to make it a lot easier to hold on to. And if you have that little tool I was talking about earlier to remove the back cap, you can use that tool right now. You just want to push in the pin and give that cap a turn. If you don't have this tool, you just have to use a pin or Phillips head screwdriver, push in that back pin and then start turning. That pin's probably going to come up a few times and you're just going to have to keep on doing it until that back cap comes off, screws off. And once you unscrew the end cap, the whole tail will come off with it. Be careful, the pin that you were pushing down has a spring underneath. You want to take that pin out and probably the spring also, so you don't lose it. If you drop it on the floor and the carpet, it's just going to be a bad day for you. So make sure you put that on the side and you can reinstall that later. And the tail usually has a little circular piece inside. You can put that back together. Also, just take a look at where that is so you can know where to place it. And now here's where you need the follower. This is extremely important. If you don't use a follower and you pull off, I don't know what that piece is called, like that bar that's on top of where the pins are, there's other pins inside that will pop out with little springs. The purpose of this follower is to keep those pins and springs inside that little sleeve. If you don't do that, they're all going to pop out and you're not going to have a fun day. So put the follower on the back and then push off that sleeve right onto it. And that way you get access to the lower pins. Go ahead, pop out all those lower pins. You probably don't know what numbers they are anyways. Use your key from your original Schlage lock, or if you have to measure it, use the little key gauge to measure your current key and put in the pin numbers in order. And if you did it right, you can actually switch out the Aqara key for your current key, and those pins should line up nice and straight, and none of them should stick down, none of them should stick up. It should be completely flat on the cylinder if you did it correctly. And now go ahead and take your follower and push the body back on to the cylinder. Hopefully that goes well for you. Just make sure it's all next to each other and nice and even, and you shouldn't have any issues. And once it's back on, you'll be able to put the tail and the cap back on. You can use the tool if you have it, otherwise you're gonna have to use a screwdriver or a pin to push that pin back in. And then everything else is just in reverse. You just want to put it back into the housing, put the bracket on, put the screws on, put the back door on, put the little weather strip on, and you're good to go. It's super easy. And for those who are wondering, yes, you can use the cylinder from the U50, rekey it, and bring it into the U100. All right, second positive difference is that this now includes a gyroscope. That way it knows when your doors actually close. I remember setting up the U100 and you kind of went through the motions of setting like a gyroscope up, but if you look at it and through some of my testing, and one of the issues I've had with the lock is that it would always lock even if the door was open. So now with the U50, it has a gyroscope in there, and there's definitely a setting in there where you can do the calibrations, which was not in the U100. You can actually go back into the U100 and that calibration is not there, even though I kind of remember doing it upon setup. So one of the main issues I had with the U100 was that it would auto lock even if the door was open. It was just annoying. I want the auto lock to work when the door was closed, but unfortunately it just auto locked all the time, even when I turned off the setting. So it's just weird. It's just one of the bugs, which the U100 was always very buggy. I said that in my initial review, and it did get a little bit better, but it definitely did not get to where the U50 is today. So I'm glad that the gyroscope now works. I've tested it for a few weeks now, and it definitely is a lot better than the U100. Now let's go ahead and talk about two other things I want to point out for you guys. You probably already know. The build quality and design is exactly the same between the U100 and U50. Definitely not impressed with this design or the build quality. It's very affordable lock. Most smart locks out there are nothing to write home about. They're not very secure. If someone wants to get into your house, they can definitely do that. These are not the locks to have for high security areas. It's just a general lock to keep honest people honest. But otherwise, the build quality is not that great, especially in this new latch. It kind of has this little plastic thing on the end. I didn't even use it in my install. I used the U100 latch, which wasn't great to begin with, but it has this like little plastic thing right here. It just kept popping out, and it just seems very cheap in my opinion. Definitely get the job done, but the one from the U100 just looked and functioned a little bit better. And lastly, let's talk about price. Obviously, without a fingerprint reader, this thing definitely should be cheaper. it's actually going to be $150 upon launch. I'm sure they'll have a coupon code. They always have coupon codes on the initial launch. But at the time of this recording, I do want to point out that it currently is $150 for the U100. Yes, they have sales on the U100. I've seen as low as I think $130 or so. So just be aware of the current pricing of the U100 and the past pricing of the U100 when they're throwing out this new product and calling it a deal, when they probably going to raise up the price of the U100 just to make the price of the U50 look more affordable. And a quick third thing, if you happen to have the Aqara doorbell, you can mark this as a related item. And when you go into the Aqara lock, you can actually see the feed of the doorbell. That way you can easily unlock it when someone's at your doorbell. This is a new setting within the U50 called related items. The U100 has something called related items of device, which the U50 also has, but that's just setup automations and scenarios. This new setting is just called related items, and I think that's a great feature to have. Although I would think it worked better the other way around. When someone actually rings the doorbell feed comes up and it should be able to easily unlock it from that accessory. Unfortunately, they have it the other way around, even though the marketing that I've seen for this feature says that you'll be able to see who's at your door and easily unlock the U50. But unfortunately, to unlock it, you still need to go into the U50 accessory to unlock it, and it's not in the actual doorbell. So all in all, I'm definitely a lot happy with the U50. I would like to have that fingerprint back. Everything else pretty much exactly the same. You can work with Matter, which I don't recommend for this smart lock. It just throws in a monkey wrench that just messes everything up. It works with HomeKit, which is my primary system. You can bring this into Alexa if you want to, and it works great in Alexa. But like I said, currently I just would not bring in the Matter, even though if you have an M2 or M3 Hub, yes, you could. Overall, definitely a huge improvement. Definitely has come up from the U100, which the U100 was at the very bottom of all my smart locks, not just HomeKit locks, just all smart locks is all the way at the bottom. But now this U50 is definitely on the list. And like I said, they've come 2 steps forward with 1 step back because of that missing fingerprint reader. All in all, I think you'll be happy with this, as long as one, battery life is what they say it is. They say about 6 months, which by the way, U100 definitely bad battery life. I was getting like 2 or 3 months, which was one of my other main issues with that. So can't tell you what that's going to be. I've only had this for about 2 or 3 weeks now. So far so good, still showing full power, but battery life is definitely going to be a key factor for me. And so far the firmware software definitely not as buggy as the U100. And I love that I can now rekey it to the key that I currently have on all my other locks. So definitely a huge thumbs up there. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope this video was helpful. See you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.